Hello, everybody. This is iThinkSports podcast, and we are back with your host, myself, the guy who calls himself Double D. Very mature. Anyway, we're back, guys. Summer's over. FIBA World Cup is taking place. Not too many people give too many shits about it, but still, it is taking place, and it is kind of exciting. Lithuania is doing all right. United States are kind of seem like they're going to lose. Like, it's pretty much inevitable. I really feel that way. But anyway, this episode is not about that. I mean, we strictly proclaim ourselves as being specialized in NBA, UFC Champions League, well, maybe a little bit just extra soccer, especially if the World Cup, if we're still around once the World Cup shows up, fuck yeah, we're going to cover it. But, it's not about FIBA World Cup that much. And obviously the other thing that we always talk about is UFC or MMA in general. And I know I have done a lot of these episodes lately, just strictly regarding MMA. But my buddy Al is pretty much on sabbatical, and I don't want to do any NBA podcast without him. So for now, I'm just going to talk about UFC. Sorry, actually, I'm going to talk about MMA. But yeah, let's just get to it. I mean, the last time we spoke, I completely shat on Bellator's card, which turned out to be pretty exciting. I mean, I think every single fight turned out to be a finish. I got to say, I didn't watch it, but it does sound that it was exciting. It does feel that way. And good for Bellator. I mean, sometimes they can do the same shit that UFC usually pulls off, which is, you think that they're just producing some sort of a shit card in front of you and you have to pay money for it. I mean, Bellator doesn't really have that scheme, but, UFC used to do that a bunch. And then it seems like, well, I don't know, I'm not really excited. I'm going to maybe turn it on, and then boom, every single fight is bonkers. There's up-and-comers showing up. There's somebody emerging, somebody's face that you will never forget, somebody's performance that you will never forget, or the name that you will never forget. And, it turns out to be quite a good card, exciting, high quality, and this and that, even though there's no names. So that's exactly what happened with that Bellator card, with obviously most notably Sergey Kharitonov beating Matt Mitrione. So apparently Mitrione just lost his focus a little bit, complaining about the mouthpiece that he lost. I don't know. I really didn't watch even the highlights. I didn't care about it too much. I was just so stoked for this upcoming UFC fight card that these other cards really could not give anything to me. I was very, very unentertained, very not excited, if that's a terminology. And I was looking forward to UFC 242. But since, that is right around the corner, I did check out Zhang Weilie, UFC Shenzhen card. However, didn't get a chance to check out the Bellator card. I'm sorry, guys. If you were looking for that content, well, no bueno from my end. I'm sorry, but whatever. I guess it was pretty much Michael Bisping, Anderson Silva type of a way where, Mitrione lost his focus, wanted to complain to referee, and Kharitonov just capitalized on that shit, and boom, there you go. Matt Mitrione is really a bit of a skid right now. Big win against Fyodor. That was, the greatest thing ever, obviously, for him. But after that, it's not going his way. And I don't know, man. He's been doing it for so long. I don't know what else he can gain here. I really feel like it's Mitrione's time to call it a quits. He knocked out Fedor. He had some awesome fights. He definitely delivered a ton of fucking knockouts in UFC. So, it's not like he had a bad career. Just came off just a bit short in terms of winning something like a championship. Even if it's a Bellator championship, they will call you a world champion. So that would have been a huge feather in his cap, and he had his chances. But, you know, there's no shame there. You know, there's a ton of fighters that have never won anything besides just, big fights. And that is good enough. I mean, big fights also matter. So I'm not saying that the guy is retiring. He might have said something. I don't know. But anyway. Sucks for Mitrione. At the same time, maybe it even doesn't suck. He just has to move on with his life, which I'm sure he can do. He's one of the smarter ones. Always pulling some shit, always, pretending to be silly, but also calculating his stuff. That's the way I remember him from Ultimate Fighter days. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see about Mitrione, but Kharitonov is moving on, and, that's a big win. He definitely avenged that no contest bullshit that happened with that first Mitrione fight where he just got kneed to the balls or kicked in the balls. I don't remember now exactly, but, a ball shot ended this fucking thing, and that was pretty quick, actually. So another quick turnaround for Kharitonov. Good. He's moving on. And Mitrione, I'm hoping he's going to be moving out. So, yeah, apparently that was a good card. But, again, I don't care. Some of these cards, even UFC provides them too, but UFC now lately, and when I say lately, I mean like for the last 5 fucking years, they got so pompous that they think that whatever they're going to give to you is going to matter. Whatever they're going to give to you, no matter how shitty that card is, they feel like it's going to deliver, and at the end, people will appreciate it. Well, I'm sorry. I'm a huge Dana White fan. I love listening to his crumbs. I love listening to him just talking about everything, the way he goes on these rants. I love him. And I wish, he doesn't go away. And who knows, maybe he doesn't. But fuck that, man. Fuck that. And I know he's going to say, you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Well, yeah, actually, I'm not going to watch it, because it's a bit stupid. It sucks quite a bit. And yeah, I'm really disinterested. And one of those fight cards was this one. UFC China. I don't know, man. I told you guys, I was excited about Zhang Weilie because that chick is definitely a berserker. It only takes you a second, to look at her, evaluate her, and understand, like, holy shit, this chick is a beast. She's ready for some wars, and she's ready for some championships. And there you go. That's what happened. Let's just jump right into that one. Well, actually, before I do that, maybe let's talk about the fight before that, which was, man, I hate to pronounce his name, Li Jianlian against Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos. Oh boy, what a fight. What a fight that was. Pretty exciting. I mean, both guys, you can see, really respected each other. Dos Santos, he's coming off a great winning streak. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ish. 7 something, yeah. 7-fight winning streak. And, it's not like he was just decisioning people. He was fighting. I mean, well, lately he started fighting like somebody like Sean Strickland. Fuck, man. He beat the shit out of that guy. Curtis Millender, submitted him. Before that, Luigi Vendramini. Okay, not the craziest names in the world, but spin and wheel kick and punches KO. Flying knee and punches KO against Vendramini. And then submission against Millender. Fuck, man. Zaleski was definitely something to watch and pay attention to. And especially that last win because that was in the United States. Finally he came out of his skin and delivered the big one. Big performance. There's nothing else to say about that. Big performance against Millender. And, he's coming in against Li Jianliang, who, let me just check. He had some issues with UFC. He came on UFC 173. That was in 2014, man. So it's even hard to call him like some sort of a prospect for China. But he is in his prime. He's 31 years old. And he's got through some ups and downs, had some wins, had some losses. But lately, he's been beating dudes. Obviously, that beautiful knockout against David Zawada put him on, on the map already. And, this is a good fight. Both guys on some winning streaks. Both guys have some promises for each other. They want to be that next person in line. Not exactly up and comers, but maybe something good is going to come out of it, especially if you deliver something good. So, yeah, the fight was pretty cautious at the beginning, but then, it started to look interesting. Dos Santos was looking awesome in the first round, but then he got dropped by Lee and everything changed. Once Lee dropped him, went on his ass. I mean, Dos Santos really survived that very well. He is known to have a chin. That's why he's so aggressive. Dos Santos is one of those guys that keeps up the pace. And, two things that really save him: his versatility, because he can do everything, and his ability to take a punch. That's why he was always so aggressive and was able to deliver some risky knockouts. When you spinning kick somebody, you take some chances. You don't want to end up like Chris Weidman against Luke Rockhold. So, yeah, Dos Santos is willing to take those risks because he's just durable as fuck. But Jan Liang, man, he was looking awesome. His boxing was looking crisp. His punches were powerful, really from both hands. So he dropped him in the first round, definitely wanted then that. And in the second round, he just outpowered Zaleski, and it really didn't seem like Zaleski's going to have any chances here. And in the third round, pretty much looked the same way. But at the very end, 42 seconds. No, wait. I'm looking at the wrong thing here. Yeah, I mean, 9 seconds. 9 seconds left in the third round. Basically, 9 seconds left in the fight. Obviously, a bit earlier than that, Li Jianliang catches Zaleski with an uppercut. Zaleski's already wobbled. I think he got dropped in the second round as well. So he got dropped consistently. So, he wasn't exactly clear-headed getting any more extra punches. So, yeah, Jianliang clips him with an uppercut. Dos Santos wobbles to the cage, pretty much drops. And Jianliang just dropped some fucking bombs on his face. And, he delivered like 6 pretty goddamn accurate shots to his face until, the ref saved him. So 9 seconds into the fight, 9 seconds left, till the end of the fight, Li Jianliang delivers a fucking finish. And that was with some fireworks. Jesus, perfect performance. Pretty much what you want, to make a case that you are, an up-and-comer or something, or maybe your time has come and you're rising to the top. This is the way to make that type of a statement. Beautiful win for Li Jianliang. So, it was an interesting fight, and it turned out to be a pretty exciting finish. So, there you go. Now Li Jianliang is on the map, and we should be talking about him a bit more. So, it's fun. It was fun. I definitely expected something like that to happen. So it definitely did not disappoint. Disappointment is just the rest of the card, which is pure shit. So yeah, and that was our co-main event. That's pretty much what I watched, the last 2 fights. And the very last fight, god damn it, it's a title fight. I know, it's women, strawweight division, who gives a fuck? But I don't know. I mean, women's strawweight division is pretty interesting. It's stacked. They do have Andrade. They had Gadelia. Obviously, still Jędrzejczyk is somewhere in the mix. I'm not sure where exactly, but Jędrzejczyk put these women on the map. And then we have Rose Namajunas, the fellow Lithuanian. It's fucking awesome. I love watching that shit. And those women are exciting. They are technical, more technical than the bantamweight. I mean, bantamweight is getting up there right now, but it's really, really fun to see what we're seeing from these women. So I was excited about this fight, especially because of the way Zhang Weili bursting on the scene. And maybe bursting is the wrong thing to say, because in UFC, her resume is not looking crisp. She did have a submission against Jessica Aguilar, which, that draw my attention. But after that, just some decisions. She had definitely had much better resume before UFC. That was like, I don't know what the fuck this is. Kunlun Fight MMA something. So those, that usually takes place in China and South Korea. And there she's annihilating everybody. But her big fight was against Tisha Torres. And I thought, okay, if she does something spectacular here, maybe, she can get that title shot. And yeah, I wasn't too impressed, although she did control Tisha and she had no chances of winning. So that still made some sort of a statement for Zhang Weilie to, maybe contend in some sort of a way in the distant future. Well, that distant future turned out to be not so distant after all. Not only UFC gave her that fight, they gave her that fight in fucking China. And, well, what can you say? Zhang Weilie opens up. And really, I should say Andrade opens up very, very aggressively. I mean, I guess she always is that way, but I don't. I mean, Jessica Andrade is definitely a tank. You cannot say anything else. But I think she was a bit out of her character, I must say. I don't know. She seemed to, like when she fought Rose, you can see fire in her eyes. She was spunky for that fight. I don't know if that's even correct, uh, correct explanation of what I've saw and what I'm feeling, and even if that's in vocabulary. But yeah, she was just like on springs or something. She couldn't wait to step in there and do work. And she faced adversity because Rose really beat the shit out of her standing up, but then she found a way to win. In this fight, I didn't see, Jessica seemed a bit nonchalant in this fight. I don't know what was, if she made any excuses. Maybe that was her excuse. She's a stand-up warrior, so I'm sure that she didn't make any excuses to anyone. She wasn't blaming anybody. But it definitely seemed to me like Jessica's just a bit out of character, and then she just wanted to storm Zhang for some reason. And Zhang is not that type of chick, man. Fuck, she's powerful. You go aggressive against her, look what happens. So maybe that's why, we didn't see some finishes against somebody like Tisha, who's very, methodical and calculated. Nobody gets an exciting fight against Tisha Torres. Tisha Torres is pretty much a boring fighter and makes everybody else look boring, but, she's very technical. She's good at what she does. So there you go. That's the game. When Andrade goes on berserker mode, we saw what happens. Zhang Weili has some fucking power. She dropped her immediately, and then she swarmed on her like, fuck, man, like Vanderlei Silva type of style. I mean, she really Jessica Andrade. I mean, that's what Andrade usually does to chicks. But Zhang, yeah, just outpowered her, outmuscled her, and just outbeat her. With knees and with punches, with everything. I mean, that was brutal to watch. And yeah, Jessica had to be saved. There you go. The fight lasted 42 seconds, and boom, now we have a Chinese champion. So that was also pretty cool, man. It was pretty spectacular, and I know, people talk about China and USADA this and that, and, Chinese obviously are known to use PEDs. I don't know. Zhang does look very strong and, very big, but I don't know. She doesn't look like roided up. Her face looks pretty much normal. It doesn't look like she's taking any hormones. If anything, Andrade looks a bit like a boy. She does have a very masculine face. Just like, I mean, Cyborg has something out of this world, fucking masculine. She's pretty much all those fucking jokes. I get it. They're brutal, but, they definitely make sense. I mean, Chris Cyborg looks like a fucking chick on all types of steroids, all type of male hormones. And Jessica does kind of have that same look, So I think it's just in Brazilian culture, and you really can't blame that it's in Chinese culture either. So I think, you can be speculative, you can talk some shit, and you can, be skeptic about it. I wouldn't blame you, but I don't care. Zhang Weili is the champ, and she's a legit champ. I really feel that way. I think that she can hold this belt for a long time. Maybe that will open door for Rose to get back out there. But I gotta say, I don't really want this fight for Rose. I didn't want the fight against Andrade, and Namajunas really surprised, I think, everybody. But yeah, I don't think she can do the same against this chick. I mean, she's got some fucking power, and she's a decent, very good suffocating grappler. She's a very potent grappler in that regard as well, and she's powerful. So yeah, I don't see who can take this belt away from her. Maybe Jędrzejczyk comes back and does it again against her. And I think Tatiana Suarez would be an interesting fight, but I don't think anybody beats her. Don't necessarily think that it's going to be exciting watching her defending the belt, but maybe we'll get some knockouts. Maybe we'll get some submissions. Who the fuck knows? I just know one thing. It's exciting to see this girl competing against the elites because she is definitely an elite. And apparently Dana White said it was hard finding her an opponent. That's why they gave her the title shot, essentially. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Zhang Weilie is a beast. So, there you go. Enough of this shit. Actually, let me just pull up the card of UFC 242 now. And we can talk about that because this is the big thing that is happening this weekend. And fuck, man, I really cannot wait for this fight. And when I say fight, I really mean it. And I mean Khabib Nurmagomedov against Dustin Poirier. Look, the card ain't that bad. But for the pay-per-view, you could have thrown a few more stars. So Edson Barboza is fighting Paul Felder. It's a rematch for Felder. The first fight was pretty interesting. And it really showed Barboza's just absolutely phenomenal and out of this world striking skills. So, it is interesting because Paul Felder was pretty green at that moment. So who knows how this fight is going to go now. Islam Makhachev fighting Davi Ramos. Okay, well, for Makhachev, okay, I'm interested. Davi Ramos, I don't care. Curtis Blades fighting Shamil Abdurakhimov. Okay, that's a pretty interesting fight. But again, I don't know. It might be grappling heavy, And Mirbek Taisimov against Diego Ferreira. Also, I guess it's interesting, but these fights should be on prelims, really. Especially Blades and Taisimov. I mean, yeah, Blades is number 4 heavyweight, but he's not exactly putting awesome, unbelievable performances. He doesn't have that name. He was kind of going on that verge. Wanted to have that rematch against Ngannou, and then Ngannou still beat him. So, nothing really turned out amazing out of Curtis Blades. And let me just pull up all this fucking roster because I think Blades is on a bit of a winning streak now. So, I guess he deserves a shot to become, some sort of a highlight of the main card. But yeah, let me just see. Well, actually, I was right and wrong at the same time. Fuck, he doesn't deserve anything. Curtis Blades just recently lost to Ngannou, and then he had a unanimous decision against Justin Willis. I don't know what else to tell you guys. I hope that Shamil Abdurakhimov beats the shit out of him. Because Curtis Blades is being talked about quite a lot. Ever since that Ngannou loss, he was really looking good, actually. I gotta say, he had some knockouts, still had some decisions, but he's still grappling heavy. But he beat Mark Hunt, then knocked out Alistair Overeem. Oh shit, he TKO'd Alexei Olenek. Oh, but that was doctor stoppage. So yeah, whatever. Anyway, he was looking good for a minute. But still, not the elite. I mean, you knocked out Alistair Overeem. I don't know, man. I don't really care. Overeem is... We all know that he has a glass jaw. It doesn't take much for him to get knocked out. To me, it's usually more impressive that he knocks people out because, God damn it, how the hell did he survive with that glass jaw? So, I don't... Still, big feather in his cap, sure. Lethal striker, very dangerous, good grappler, well-rounded. So it's still definitely something. But, then he faces somebody like Ngannou who's at the peak of his powers, and boom, he gets knocked out again. And then against Willis, goddamn fucking decision. Shamil Abdurakhimov, I don't watch this guy too often, but I know one thing. He's a fucking beast. For that matter, like all these Islams, Makachevs, Mirbek Taisumovs, and Shamil Abdurakimovs, and Khabib Nurmagomedovs, fuck, man, you better watch out. I feel like all these guys going to beat some ass. I really feel like they're going to beat the shit out of their opponents. Like Taisumov against Ferreira. God damn it, Ferreira. How old is he? I feel like he's been here in the UFC forever. 34, okay. Not too old. But Taisumov, man, he knocked Felipe Silva, Damir Hadzovic. Okay, not the craziest names in the world, but he's been knocking dudes out. He's been really steadily rising to the top, and now he's at the peak of his athletic abilities. At the age of 31, I really feel like he's going to knock Ferreira out. I don't want to make predictions here, but shit, I just for some reason, I feel like all these Islams, taking place in Abu Dhabi, I feel like they're going to whoop some ass. So yeah, I'm gonna root for all of those guys. Curtis Blades against Abdurakhimov. Yeah, I feel like Abdurakhimov can do the work. But again, none of these fights are really that interesting. Islam Makhachev is an interesting fighter. I love watching him. And again, another badass, fucking badass that guy is. But he's fighting Davi Ramos. I don't know who Davi Ramos is, to be honest with you. Let's see. Well, he has 5 fights in UFC. Okay. So he lost to Sergio Moraes, not Marlon Moraes, the other one. Then his wins are against Chris Gretzmaker, whatever. Nick Hine, okay, that's a big one. He submitted actually him. Wow. John Gunther, I don't know who that guy is. And Austin Hubbard, I guess I've heard of him. And that was a decision. I mean, David Ramos is going to get his ass whooped. That's what I'm predicting. So, yeah, I mean, again, this card, I mean, I'm shitting about Shenzhen card. Well, I mean, that card was pure shit because they didn't have anybody. Like here, you can recognize some names and there are some, heavy hitters and all that. So I guess it's more fun. But still, I'm really going to concentrate on co-main event and main event. And really, if I'm really honest with you, I'm not that interested in watching that co-main event. I feel like Barbosa's going to win again. I know it's not popular belief because, Barbosa seems like people figured him out. But it really seemed that way once before, It's not like you can figure him out. It's just, it's one obvious thing. Barbosa cannot really take a punch. And then people want to say, well, after that Khabib loss, he looked so terrible that his confidence is pure shit. Look, man, I remember him when he fought Jamie Varner, I'm sorry. And, and that was right after Terry Edom fight, right after that beautiful wheel kick, the best knockout ever recorded in any MMA, I would say. Well, I guess that's up for a debate, but definitely one of the greatest knockouts you can ever see. And after that, his stock risen so much. And he's fighting Jamie Varner, who admitted that he was actually afraid of his life. I think he was crying, maybe something like that. I don't remember now exactly, but I know that he was scared of his life fighting Edson Barbosa. He looked nothing like his competition. And he knocked him out, man. He finished the dude, no problem. And, then the questions finally rose whether Barbosa can take a punch. And then he beats some guys, fights Donald Cerrone, looks good. Pretty much looks like he's going to beat the shit out of him until he gets caught and then gets submitted. Again, got caught because he got, punched in the face, dropped to the floor, and Cerrone just jumped on him. So there you go again. Michael Johnson almost finished him. I do remember that. And it was looking very bad for him. Tony Ferguson got submitted against him. So just a few wins, few losses, few wins, few losses. But after Tony Ferguson, he beat Anthony Pettis, beat Gilbert Melendez, and then beat Bernil Dariush with that beautiful flying knee. It seemed like, holy shit, he's right up there now until he faced Khabib. And after that, he lost to Kevin Lee, yeah. But, then he beat Dan Hooker, no problem. The problem is that he lost to Justin Gaethje. That I did not expect. I thought that both guys going to exchange some fucking kicks. And yeah, that didn't happen as far as I can remember. Gaethje just beat the shit out of him standing up, boxing wise, and knocked him out. So yeah, the question still remains. How much Barbosa can do to you before you catch him and knock him out and knock him down and most likely finish him. But I don't know. Barbosa is still very fast. Felder is he's very powerful. Definitely, he's better than he's ever been. But Felder's too wild. And I think for such a specialist like Barbosa, I feel like Barbosa is still going to find the way to hurt him more than Felder can hurt him until Felder catches him. I feel like, of course, that's a possibility. I'm not delusional here. I'm actually rooting for Felder. But I really feel like I really don't think that Felder proved to us anything that we didn't know about him already. We knew that he's a badass. He just needed some experience before he's gonna fight some more of a badasses, and he gets his shine. But the fact doesn't change that the guy's fucking wild. He's always in performance of the night. That crazy fight against Mike Perry, and he was still wild in that one. Broke his arm, really, trying to do a spinning back fist to Perry. So that's just who Felder is. And against Barbosa, I feel like he's going to get picked up apart, just like in that first fight. Unless he wants to make it dirty, and that would be his plan. That should be his plan. But I don't know how well he can execute. Felder is definitely a smart guy. I like watching him fight. He's very durable. He's very tough. But because he's so tough and durable, he's willing to exchange and willing to go crazy a little bit and a little bit too much, especially again against a specialist like Barbosa. Yeah, maybe he's not going to be just as fast as he was the last time, just as crisp maybe. But I still feel like Barbosa has, one of the most lethal and one of the most amazing skills for us to watch. So I don't know. I kind of feel like Barbosa is still going to win this one. If Felder wins, it's got to be a knockout, which also is very, very possible. But again, I'm not too excited about this fight. Should be fun, but in terms of co-main event material, not really. Not really. I'm sorry, guys. This should have been like a second fight in the main card or something like that. So yeah, skipping right up to the main event. Well, what is there to say? Khabib Nurmagomedov, unbeatable beast, beating everybody left and right. Fighting Dustin Poirier, who really found his groove in lightweight division. And man, I'm going to root with him. Again, excuse me. I know what I said. I said that I feel like all these Islam fighters are going to do work against the rest of the field. But I don't know, man. For some reason, I really want Dustin Poirier to win. I was a fan of his way back in the day when he fought, when he submitted Max Holloway. That was the first time I saw somebody do a mounted triangle armbar. I guess that's what it's called. And he did it against Max Holloway. I mean, at that point, I didn't care about Max Holloway because he wasn't famous or anything like that. But, it was a heck of a fight. And that's what Dustin did to him, put himself on a map in front of my eyes. And then he goes against Chan Sung Jung. And, it's pretty much fighting for a title contender spot. And they delivered, I think it was a fight of the year. I mean, one of the craziest fights I've ever seen. So ever since then, I really liked Poirier, and he delivered some awesome knockouts and submissions. Just a badass, ultimate badass dude until he fought Connor. And I was still rooting for Dustin at that point. I was rooting for him. Connor, to me, I didn't yet bought his vibe. And after that fight, I really started respecting Connor's abilities and all that. But I was rooting for Dustin in that fight, and I really felt like Dustin has the answers, to Connor. So that didn't go his way. But then he makes the right move, goes to the lightweight division because apparently, in featherweight, he cannot take a punch or not as good. He's just too depleted. And he looks awesome. Besides that one slip up against Michael Johnson, which again, I just could not understand how the fuck that happened. Besides that one slip, Dustin Poirier has been flawless, and he beat some dudes. I mean, Bobby Green at one point, at that time when he beat Bobby Green was hot. His stock was rising high. He was quite on the win streak, making all sorts of noise. And before that, he fought Joseph Duffy, the guy who actually beat Connor. Joseph Duffy's stock was also very high. So, he already beat some very legit names. But after Michael Johnson fight, he fights Jim Miller. Majority decision, but again, fight of the night, fucking awesome. Eddie Alvarez, no contest because of illegal knees. Whatever. Fights Anthony Pettis, the guy obviously who I love so much. I was rooting for him. But man, he put Pettis to hell. He put him to hell, straight up. What he did to him, that was legit control, top control, just beating him. You can see everything. Top game, grappling abilities. I already knew that, obviously. But still, just to display against somebody like Pettis, it's like Luke Rockhold. We always knew that he has amazing top game, but you never get to really appreciate it when he fights somebody like, what was it, the Barbarian? What's his name? Whatever. Who cares? I mean, even against Bisping, submitted Bisping. Okay, I guess that's big. But once he fought Weidman, that's when you really understand, like, holy shit, he did that to him. Once he got on top of Weidman had nowhere to go. And that was pretty much the same feeling I had, in this fight against Pettis. Pettis had nowhere to go. He tried to pull up some crazy stuff and try to, take a rabbit out of his ass and maybe somehow win this thing and maybe somehow hurt Dustin. But Dustin had, he had nothing on his mind but winning and just beating the shit out of him, and that's exactly what he did. Then he fights Justin Gaethje, with, again, fight of the night, fucking crazy, beats him, finally gets that revenge against Eddie Alvarez, and beats the shit out of Max Holloway. I mean, Dustin Poirier has some fucking skills and abilities, and now it's definitely backed up by confidence, by knowing that you beat all these who's who, Hall of Fame type of fighters. It's Dustin Poirier's time. It's now or never. And I really feel like that's something very, very special. Khabib never lost. Did he face adversity? He did. Is he strong enough to go through everything? He is. Is he going to take Dustin Poirier down? You bet your sweet ass he's going to do that. I'm pretty sure he's going to take Dustin down. But Dustin is a very good grappler. He's very strong in this weight class. He looks very in his place where he needs to be. Khabib is not going to beat him up standing up. Dustin has power. Khabib is susceptible to that power. Does Dustin have speed? I don't know, but he's got crisp technique. That's for sure. And he's good grappler. Khabib, he's more powerful than technical. I really cannot say that for sure because I'm not, a wrestler or anything like that. But I've heard some respectable names talk about what Khabib does when he takes people down, and his control is not backed up by wrestling fundamentals or anything. It's just backed up by he can do this to you because he can, and that's it. Because he's so strong, he's so big, he's so powerful. So he doesn't rely on his technique that much. I don't know, maybe that technique arsenal is there. I mean, it must be there. The guy takes everybody down and he really controls. To me, Khabib really put himself on a map against Pat Healy. Like in that fight, the way he controlled this bigger guy, that's when you can see, like, holy shit, this guy's just no joke, It seems like he's barely surviving, but he's controlling the fight and beating the shit out of this guy. Straight up, unanimous decision. That's what he got from that one. And, he faced somebody like Dos Anjos, and Dos Anjos is an amazing grappler, just as good as Poirier, you could say, most likely. And he just absolutely annihilated him. Now, the question is, how much different Khabib is from those days? Does he have the same energy? Does he have the same knees? Usually for the wrestlers, those fucking knees, they go away quick in their career. I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, Khabib is in his prime. He's what, 31, 30-something? It's got to be early 30s. 30. He's 30, so he is in his very prime. And Dustin Poirier is 30 as well. You know what Joe Rogan says? Your physical prime is in your 30s. So we're getting these two guys in their prime. It's Khabib's time for sure. He just beat Conor McGregor. Unbelievable win. He's never been beaten anyway. And now he's finally got that belt. No excuses, no nothing. He's looking like a fucking savage that he is. And Dustin Poirier is on the other end, who has been on the tear, beating everybody. Again, beating Hall of Famers, beating who's who. And he's in his prime as well. He's ready to go. Both guys look amazing. Both guys looked awesome in their last several fights. It's going to be fireworks. I don't know what's going to happen. I feel like Khabib is going to edge Dustin, but I'm really rooting for Dustin. I'm really rooting for Dustin just to slip a few. I don't know. It's not going to happen early. I think it's going to take some time for Dustin to catch Khabib, but I feel like he can do it. I feel like he can catch him. And that is going to change. You will see how legit Dustin Poirier's top game is if it's going to get to that point. You will see how Dustin, puts Khabib in some trouble, and you will see how Khabib can survive from that trouble. I really feel like that can happen. But, if I'm speaking with my mind and I'm basing from what I saw from, all the Khabib's fights, yeah, Khabib should just take him down, beat his ass, sap his energy, sap his motivation and confidence. And once that goes, Dustin will become a different fighter. And most likely Khabib is just going to, do some work on him. Most likely unanimous decision for Khabib. And I'm still rooting for fourth round TKO by Dustin. Really wholeheartedly rooting for that. I mean, the guy has gone through a lot of adversity. He was looking for that contender spot already in a featherweight division. Didn't get it. Now he had to go through so much in the lightweight division. His path was not easy. His path was not easy at all. And, he got through it pretty much flawlessly. Besides that Michael Johnson slip, he got through it amazingly, in amazing fashion. So I wish he gets it. Khabib had his time. Khabib was on the top for a while. He's making a shit ton of money. He already beat Conor McGregor, which is, that's the main goal for all these fighters, especially in the same weight class, because that guarantees you some big paycheck. Dustin Poirier, he has to get that paycheck right now. And I feel like he can do it, but who the fuck knows? Really seems like Khabib is just going to rule the world until he decides to say goodbye to this sport. So yeah, guys, there you go. UFC 242. Again, there's nothing else to say, but this fucking fight, you absolutely must watch it. It deserves all your money because it is amazing. Again, as we talked about, two guys in their prime, both killers, both spectacular, both very exciting, and both are just legit warriors, So, my God, that doesn't happen too often, I know that everybody wanted that Khabib and Tony Ferguson square down, showdown. Yeah, that would have been better, I must admit. But this is pretty special, This is pretty special. We already saw Khabib against Conor. Now we see him against Poirier. after that, if he wins, all we need to see is him against Ferguson or Poirier against Ferguson. Fuck, man. Both those scenarios are absolutely amazing, and I cannot wait for that to happen somehow, some way. So, yeah, that's it for the event. Absolutely must watch it. I know I will. But yeah, let me just take a look what Bellator has in store. Let me just take a sip of water and grab a sip of water, take a little break, and get back to you real soon. Stay tuned. Okay, so we're pretty much at the end of our podcast, but real quick before we end, let's look at what Bellator has in store. Just popped up their card for September 7th. Anyway, Ryan Bader is fighting. And he's fighting Cheick Kongo for defending his heavyweight world title. Man, just real quick about Ryan Bader. God damn, this guy just had such a resurrection in Bellator. It's mind-boggling. I mean, that guy just recently, what was it? 2016. I can barely see with my eyes. But in 2016, he got humiliated by Anthony Johnson. Tried to wrestle him. Johnson got on top of him and just beat the shit out of him in the first round. Didn't take that long. It took like a minute and 20 seconds or something. That was fucking insane. He looked very bad. But then he finds himself against Ilir Latifi, beats Antonio Rogerio Nogueira, beats Phil Davis. Oh, wait. After Nogueira's win, he goes finally to Bellator. And, well, there you go. Goes right up there already for a light heavyweight title against Phil Davis and beats him. He already beat him before, so he had a great statement, great case to fight Phil Davis again. Beat him, became a champ. Beat Linton Vassell, defended his crown. Beat Muhammad Laval in heavyweight tournament. Beat Matt Mitrione. Fuck, man. I thought Mitrione can get that against Bader. Bader is just too small for Mitrione, it seemed to me. Bader's goddamn big enough, to beat guys like him and then beat Fyodor, I should say. Boom, he's the champ. And now he's defending it against Cheick Kongo. Again, Cheick Kongo. He's a big motherfucker. I don't know how Bader can deal with him necessarily, but the one thing is about Cheick Kongo, he's 120 fucking years old. That's how old he is. I mean, he's 44, and Bader's 36. But Bader kept himself really nice in Bellator. In Bellator, he's not taking too much damage. Mitrione fight was a long one and definitely a grueling one. Phil Davis was the same. But against Vassell, 2 rounds, knocked him out. Against Muhammad Laval, took only 15 seconds. And against Fyodor, the same thing, took only 35 seconds. So he kept himself very unscathed. And really, after that Anthony Johnson fight, he kept himself unscathed very well. So I really believe that Bader can still do this for quite several years, up until he's 40, I would say, especially for the heavyweight division. 36, usually for heavyweights, that's their prime. Ask Andrei Arlovsky, ask Mark Hunt, ask DC. A lot of these guys, they get their shine once they're over 35. So, yeah, Cheick Kongo, he's just probably getting this because, okay, before I shit on the guy, let me just take a look at his record. Oh, what do you know? He's beating people up. He's in Bellator since 2013. And, well, what can I say? Whenever there's a no-namer, he beats the guy. Like, this is his knockouts in Bellator. Mark Godbeer, okay, that's a legit one. Eric Smith, who the fuck is this guy? Javi Ayala, Timothy Johnson. These are his knockouts. Whenever he's fighting somebody like Vitaly Minakov, shit, man. LeVar Johnson. Oh, he submitted LeVar Johnson. Okay, that's pretty big. Alexander Volkov. Wow, he beat Volkov. Augusto Sakai. Well, yeah, all these names only decisions, but it's pretty impressive. The way if he beat Volkov, that's big. And Minakov, that's also big. That's his most recent win. So, he's okay. I guess he still got some power. I mean, fuck, man. The one thing that he definitely has is power. Cheick Kongo is powerful as fuck. So it's a dangerous fight for Bader. He's got long reach. I mean, Cheick Kongo does. He's very powerful, strong, and very skilled standing up wise. The problem is Bader. He's short and stocky compared to Kongo, so he can take him down. Most likely, he will take him down and just beat the soul out of him. I'm sure of that. And Bader's stand up recently, and that was already evident in UFC days, towards the end of the UFC days. But in Bellator as well, man, he is able to put you on a scene. That guy is able to light you on fire with his striking abilities. So, that can be good sign for Bader that he can, stand up and hold his ground against Kongo, but that can also be bad because, he might get into some unnecessary exchanges with Kongo, and Kongo is still dangerous, and he's still got more of a kickboxing background than Bader does. He's still more crisp. The problem is he's 44, so fuck, man, how much more crisp can you get at that age? I really don't know, but I'm rooting for Bader. I think he's gonna win, but he's gotta do smart things about the way he approaches this fight. So it's a fun one, and that's obviously the main event. I never understand the Bellator page. What the fuck is the co-main event? They never show this, but part of the main card is also Daniel Strauss. Interesting, against Derek Campos. Interesting fight. Definitely worth watching. Should be some fireworks out there in what is it? Featherweight division, featherweight tournament first round bout. Okay, so should be fun. And then Pat Curran fighting Adam Borix. I do remember Borix. Well, the one thing is he's undefeated, and Pat Curran is a savvy veteran who's a fucking beast. So should be an interesting fight. These fights are not that bad compared. They're just as good as UFC's main card fights. Besides the main event, they're just as good. Taiwan Gloxton against Emmanuel Sanchez. I don't know Gloxton. I know Sanchez, and Sanchez is the beast. So, another thing to watch out for. Sam Sicily against Pedro Carvalho. I don't know. That one is a bit of a suck fest. But then Gaston Bolaños against Daniel Carey. Gaston Bolaños is one of the most lethal strikers that you will ever find. And, that is definitely very, very exciting fight. So this one, obviously Bader and Kongo, Strauss and Campos, and Curran and Borix or whatever. Fuck, man, good fight. So I guess what I would recommend to all of you is tune in for both fight cards, Bellator and UFC. UFC for obvious reasons, but Bellator doesn't hold back. UFC delivers a pay-per-view. Bellator delivers a good, solid. I guess this is on free TV. I mean, Bellator usually does those. Yeah, so it's a fun one, worth watching, worth spending your time. For UFC, only the main event really is worth spending your money, but that one main event really satisfies all the money that you're willing to spend. Well, in Europe, it's fucking free, so we're good. So there you go, guys. Should be a fun weekend full of fights, full of sports. Again, don't forget to tune in for FIBA World Cup. Maybe, if Buddy All doesn't join me, I'm just going to say fuck it, and I'm going to do a recap of FIBA World Cup, what we saw, what I felt, and all this shit. Once it's over, most likely. And then we're going to look ahead of the NBA season. But yeah, for now, it's still MMA topics, and it's pretty exciting of what's taking place. And it's taking place this upcoming weekend. So thank you guys for listening in, for tuning in. Sorry that I always keep you waiting, but you know how it is. I don't want to get you too saturated with all this shit. So we're gonna ramp up the pace once the autumn really kicks in. But for now, just subscribe on YouTube, like the video, give me some questions, give me some likes, check me out on Instagram and Facebook. Check me out everywhere you can, and just most importantly, listen to the shit. I appreciate whenever you do, and how many of you do that. Still appreciate it, and that is, that all that is worth doing this shit for. So, thank you again. Enjoy the sports. Until the next time.